Welcome to the first look at opening lines for Week 11 of NFL action here at FTN Bets, sponsored by Bets TV and available on the Game Plus network. The first game we're going to look at here is a matchup on Thursday night between the New England Patriots and the Atlanta Falcons. The Patriots are 6-4 on the year, 6-4 against the spread, 5-5 to the over, and coming off a big win against the Cleveland Browns, 45-7, where they just absolutely dismantled them. The Atlanta Falcons are 4-5 against the spread, 5-4 to the over, and coming off a loss to the Dallas Cowboys where they were dismantled 43-3. When I break down the numbers on this game, I get the New England Patriots should be favored by about 3 to 3.5 points. So looking at it right now, I just think this is too many points. I think that this is what I like to call an overreaction spread. So we just watched the Patriots absolutely bludgeon the Cleveland Browns on Sunday. We just watched the Falcons get absolutely beaten by the Dallas Cowboys. The Patriots are a good team, not a great team. They're probably somewhere around league average. The Falcons, probably somewhere below league average, which is why I do think the Patriots deserve to be favored here. 5.5, though, is a lot of points. That would mean that the Patriots on a neutral field are a touchdown better than the Atlanta Falcons. And I just don't see the Patriots being a touchdown better than the Atlanta Falcons. The Patriots defense is pretty solid. The Falcons offense looked really, really bad last week. The Patriots offense, though, I know they scored a lot of points against the Browns, which is a very good defense, but I don't really trust that as being something we're going to see going forward. So, basically when I look at this game, I do think that the value is on the Falcons side at plus 5.5 here. So first bet of the day, Atlanta Falcons plus 5.5, bullish on the Atlanta Falcons. So now we can move on and talk about the 1 o'clock games. And we have quite a few 1 o'clock games here for Sunday. The first game we're going to talk about is going to be the New Orleans Saints against the Philadelphia Eagles. The Saints are 5-4 against the spread, 5-4 to the over, and coming off a tough loss to the Tennessee Titans, 23-21. The Philadelphia Eagles are 4-6 on the year, 5-5 against the spread, 5-5 to the over, and coming off a win against the Denver Broncos, 30-13. I got to be honest, this spread doesn't make a lot of sense to me. When I look at this game, I actually get New Orleans should be favored by 3 points here. So I'm looking at this as the wrong team is being favored. I haven't been very high on the Eagles. You look at the -1.5 spread here, which basically says if this was on a neutral field, this would be a pick 'em between these two teams. And I don't think that's the case. I think the Saints are a better team than the Eagles. Now, again, the Saints have a lot of things going on in the injury department that we got to look at. Without Alvin Kamara, they're not as good a team. That's obvious. Without Jameis Winston, they're also not as good as team. Also pretty obvious. Although Trevor Siemian has played okay. They do still have Taysom Hill to come in there as well. So there are some things that they can do. But I just don't understand how the Saints aren't favored in this game. So when I look at the way everything is breaking down here, DraftKings, you can get the money line at plus 105. And that's probably the way that I want to play this game here. You're not getting the +3 with the Saints, so there's really no reason to take a plus 1.5. If you're going to make a bet on this game, I think the way to do it is to bet the money line. And for me, I think the Saints on the money line is the way to play. So I am bullish on the New Orleans Saints plus 105 on the money line. The next game we can talk about here is the Miami Dolphins going up against the New York Jets. Dolphins are 3-7 on the year, 4-5-1 against the spread, 4-6 to the over, and coming off a big victory over the Baltimore Ravens, 22-10 last Thursday night. So got to factor in a little bit of extra rest here for the Dolphins as well. My New York Jets are 2-7 against the spread, 6-3 to the over, and coming off a loss to the Buffalo Bills, 45-17. Breaking down the numbers on this game, I get Miami -2. So I'm not really willing to chase this. I know you can get Jets +3 juiced up a little bit at -115, or if you look at DraftKings, Jets at 2.5 juiced down to -105, which really means to me that the spread here should be a little bit below 3, like plus 2.75. But since there's not a plus 2.75 spread, you get a little bit of juice on either side to bump it up to 3 or to drop it down to 2.5. Either way, I don't really want to take it. I am not going to be chasing this. Like I said, my number on this game is the Miami Dolphins -2. I don't really think there's any value here. We can move on. So the next game we'll talk about is the Washington football team taking on the Carolina Panthers. Washington is 3-6 on the year, 2-7 against the spread, 4-5 to the over, and coming off a win against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, 29-19 in a game where they played very well, although they did end up losing Chase Young, which is going to be big for that defensive line. Carolina is 5-5 on the year, 5-5 against the spread, 3-7 to the over, and coming off a big win against the Arizona Cardinals, 34-10, although the Cardinals were without starting quarterback Kyler Murray, also without number one wide receiver DeAndre Hopkins in that game. Carolina did introduce Cam Newton. Is Cam an adjustment? This is what I want to talk about before we even get into the number. Is Cam better than PJ Walker? My guess is yes, and that is what I'm going to stick with here. Are we going to see Cam as the starting quarterback this week? I don't know that. And I don't think anybody does yet here on Sunday or Monday while we're sitting here looking. With PJ Walker as the quarterback, I would get Carolina should be favored by 2 points in this game. If Cam Newton is the quarterback, though, I do think that makes Carolina better. How much better? We don't really know how much we would adjust this up for because we have a handful of plays this year with Cam Newton. So it's very tough for us to put a number onto how much better Carolina could be without him until we get a little bit more data here. But I would say that I expect Carolina to be better. If we hear that Cam Newton is going to be the starting quarterback for Carolina this week, I would be willing to lay less than a field goal. So I would be willing to lay that -2.5 at standard juice over on DraftKings. If it's going to be PJ Walker under center, though, -2 is the number that I have, which kind of puts me right on market here. If anything, there's probably a little bit of value on the Washington football team, but not enough that I would be willing to bet on it. So if Cam is in, I would probably be looking to take Carolina. If Cam doesn't play, I'm going to be passing on this game. So looking at the rest of the 1 o'clock games, we have two interesting matchups that we'll get into. The first one we're going to talk about right here in Indianapolis and Buffalo. The Indianapolis Colts are 5-5, 6-4 against the spread, 6-4 to the over, coming off a 23-17 win against the Jacksonville Jaguars. Buffalo is 6-3 on the year, 5-3-1 to the over, 5-3-1 against the spread, 4-5 to the over, and coming off that beatdown of my New York Jets, 45-17. I wish I had something I could say that was interesting about this game, but when I break numbers down, I get the Bills should be favored by 6.5, just like they have it on DraftKings here. BetMGM a little bit higher at -7, but honestly, there's not enough value on this game for me to want to bet on anything here. I'm pretty much on market. I think this is going to be a very good game, one that I'm looking forward to watching, but not one that I'm looking forward to betting on. The next game up is the Detroit Lions taking on the Cleveland Browns. Detroit did not lose this last weekend. They are now 0-8-1, 5-4 against the spread, 3-6 to the over. And as I said, they didn't lose. They ended up in an overtime tie with the Pittsburgh Steelers, 16-16 in a game that Pittsburgh played without starting quarterback Ben Roethlisberger. Cleveland is 5-5 on the year, 5-5 against the spread, 6-4 to the over, and coming off a beating at the hands of the New England Patriots, 45-17. When I run numbers on this game with Baker Mayfield as the quarterback, I get the Browns should be favored by 15 points. When I run them without Baker Mayfield and one of his backups in there, I get that the Browns should be favored by about 11 points. So if Baker is able to play this week, I would think that there is value on laying the 10 points with the Browns. If Baker is not able to play this week, -11, -10, I mean, we're pretty much right on market here, and there isn't a lot that I would be looking to bet on in this game. So the next game I want to talk about, the San Francisco 49ers taking on the Jacksonville Jaguars. San Francisco is only 3-5 this year, 2-6 against the spread, 5-3 to the over. But that does not include the Monday Night Football game that they play against the Los Angeles Rams. We do this in the afternoon before the Monday Night Football game happens, so we don't have that game factored in. Assuming everybody comes out of that game healthy, though, we can take a look at what we call the look-ahead line here. Jacksonville is 2-7, 4-5 against the spread, 2-7 to the over, coming off that 23-17 loss to the Indianapolis Colts we just discussed. I mean, listen, when I run my numbers on this game, I get San Francisco should be favored by about 4 points here. So I'm kind of bearish on the San Francisco 49ers on the look-ahead line. Maybe Monday Night Football changes my mind, but I highly doubt it. San Francisco would have to come out, play really, really well, probably beat the Rams, which I don't see them doing here, and do it in convincing style for me to think that they deserve to be a 6-point favorite against anybody here. I know Jacksonville is not a very good team, but they have played a lot better the last couple of weeks, coming up with a big win over Buffalo a couple of weeks ago, bringing it down to the wire against Indianapolis in that last game. This is not a team that I think you want to be laying a massive amount of points against. This is a team that I think is on the improve. The defense looks better. The offense still needs some work, but they're starting to do some things too. I just think 6 is too many points here on the 49ers. So I am bearish on the San Francisco 49ers at -6. That brings us to another game with a massive spread here. We got the Houston Texans taking on the Tennessee Titans. Houston is 1-8 on the year, 4-5 against the spread, 4-5 to the over. They are coming off a bye, so we do have to factor that in a little bit as, a little bit of extra rest for them. Tennessee, one of the hottest teams in football right now. They are 8-2 on the year, 7-3 against the spread, 6-4 to the over, and coming off that win against a good New Orleans Saints team, 23-21. So my number on this game is actually the Titans -14. So I think we have a lot of value here, even laying 10.5 points on this game. I am bullish on the Tennessee Titans. Listen, the Titans have looked very good. The defense, which was their Achilles heel early in the season, has actually played pretty well the last couple of weeks. If you're a fantasy player, you go look, their defense has put up double-digit fantasy points in, I think, 3 of the last 5 games or 4 of the last 5 games, which is no easy feat. On top of that, the offense is starting to click. Even without Derrick Henry in there, they're able to throw the ball a little bit. They're able to get the running game going a little bit. Ryan Tannehill is playing pretty well for them right now. So I think the Titans are not favored by enough points in this game. Like I said, I would expect to see this drift up. My number is 14. The number the books are offering right now is 10.5. I am bullish on the Titans. I think it's a good time to bet on them today. So that brings us to the other good game that I was mentioning. We have the Green Bay Packers taking on the Minnesota Vikings in this one. Green Bay is 8-2, 9-1 against the spread, 2-8 to the over, and coming off a shutout win of the Seattle Seahawks, 17-0 in a very impressive performance. Minnesota is 4-5, 5-4 against the spread, 4-5 to the over, and coming off a win themselves against the Los Angeles Chargers, 27-20. My number on this game is Green Bay -4.5. So I'm actually bullish on the Green Bay Packers if we can get them at under a field goal, which is where they're at now. Notice, though, on both sites, on BetMGM, that -2.5 is -115, which means it's more likely to move up to -3. And then you look on DraftKings, -2.5 to -120, which means they're even closer to moving it up to that -3. I want you guys, if you're interested, like I did, to go take this Green Bay Packers number at 2.5 on BetMGM at -115 right now, because I do think by the end of the week, it's going to be at least a field goal. And right now I want to have the protection of getting a win if the Packers do win by a field goal. Like I said, my number is 4.5. So I think we got 2 points of value here. Not only is it 2 points of value, but it's 2 points of value crossing that key number of 3. Even with it juiced up a little bit at -115, I still want to go take this number right now. So bullish Green Bay Packers -2.5. Take it on BetMGM. You save 5 basis points over the -120 on DraftKings. And the last game for the 1 p.m. time slot, Baltimore Ravens taking on the Chicago Bears. Baltimore is 6-3 on the year, 3-6 against the spread, 5-4 to the over, and coming off a loss to the Miami Dolphins, 22-10 in a game that surprised a lot of people on Thursday night. The Chicago Bears are 3-6, 4-5 against the spread, 3-6 to the over, and they are coming off a bye. So normally we add extra rest we add a little bit to the spread for a team that's coming off Thursday night football, but we also normally add a little bit of extra to the spread for a team coming off a bye. The bye is a longer break than playing on Thursday night football and getting an extra day or two. So really, I didn't make much of an adjustment here. I actually made a minor adjustment to the Bears, but even with that minor adjustment, I still think this spread is too high. I get Baltimore -4. So I guess I'm bearish on the Ravens here. I know the Ravens are 6-3 on the year, but they're just 3-6 against the spread. We've talked about it quite a few times already this year that, yes, the Ravens win games, but they win ugly, and their games do tend to be close. So if you're going to have a team that wins ugly and wins close games and makes those big plays at the end of games to get them the W, I don't want to lay 6 points with a team like that, especially with that team being on the road. Now, again, I know home field advantage hasn't been as big this year as it has been in the past, but there is still a little bit of an advantage to being home. Like I said, I just think this is too many points here. So if you want to right now, I would go take that Bears +6.5 on BetMGM. I think that's the best way to play this one. And that wraps it up with our breakdown of the 1 p.m. games. We're going to take a quick commercial break and be right back with the 4 o'clock games, the Sunday night game, and the Monday night game here on FTN Bets. Welcome back, everybody, to our first look at the opening lines here on FTN Bets. Remember, if you're looking to get some more advice, looking to find some good things to bet on, looking to become a better bettor yourself, you can get over to FTN Bets right now. $49.99 is the monthly price to sign up for the package. I'm going to give you a little hint here. If you guys use promo code FTNTV, you can save 15% off any package over on FTN Bets. Get all of our information for all of the major sports that are out there, all of our analysts, all of our handicappers, find out who everybody is on over on the FTN Bets team and be able to tail along and make some money. So now that we got that out of the way, let's get into the 4 o'clock games here. The first one we're going to talk about is the Cincinnati Bengals taking on the Las Vegas Raiders. So let's get into this Cincinnati-Las Vegas game here. Cincinnati is 5-4 on the year, 4-5 to the over, 4-5 against the spread, and coming off a bye last week. So we have to factor that in a little bit. Las Vegas is 5-4 on the year, 4-5 against the spread, 5-4 to the over, and coming off a loss to the Kansas City Chiefs, 41-14. So when I break down the numbers on this game, I actually get the Las Vegas Raiders should be favored by 1.5 points, not the Bengals. So I think the wrong team is favored in this game. And whenever we have the wrong team favored in a game that's only 1 or 2 points, the best way to play it is always to go to the money line. So hopefully when BetMGM does release a number on this game, that the money line on this game is, I don't know, plus 105, plus 110, that would make me more inclined to take the Raiders here. There really isn't a lot of value here. So hopefully the BetMGM number is a little bit better when that comes out. Then maybe I'll play it. So for now, though, no bullish, no bearish. I do like the Raiders side of this game, but I don't have a bet on it. So that brings us to the Arizona Cardinals taking on the Seattle Seahawks. The Cardinals are 8-2 on the year, 7-3 against the spread, 5-5 to the over, and coming off a loss to the Carolina Panthers, 34-10. Seattle is 3-6 on the year, 5-4 against the spread, 1-7-1 to the over, coming off a loss to Green Bay, 17-0 here. This game is tough for me to break down because we have no idea what's going to happen with Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray is worth about a touchdown to the spread. So with Kyler Murray, I would think Arizona deserves to be favored by about 4 points here, which would mean taking the Cardinals at -2 would be the place to go because that's where the value is. If Kyler doesn't play, though, I would think that Seattle actually deserves to be favored in that case by about a field goal at home. So, again, it's tough for me to really tell you guys what to do here without us knowing what the deal is with Kyler Murray. If you think Kyler's going to be good to go and is going to be able to play this week, if you're reading the early tea leaves, then yeah, take the -2, bet on the Cardinals because they're the better side. If it's going to be like Colt McCoy, or actually Colt McCoy got sacked and they wound up bringing in their third string quarterback for that to end that last game. If he's going to be the guy starting against the Seahawks here, that is not the side that I want to be on. I want to be on the Seattle side if that's the case. So right now, early in the week, I want you guys to know which way I'm leaning depending on who the quarterback is, but we can't be making a bet early in the week yet until we have a little more clarity on that situation. And that brings us to the last of the 4 o'clock games. We have the Dallas Cowboys taking on the Kansas City Chiefs. This is going to be one of my favorite games of the week and one that I am very much looking forward to not only watching, but also betting on, as I think we have some value here. The Cowboys are 7-2 on the year, 8-1 against the spread, 5-4 to the over, and coming off a win, not even a win, a beatdown of the Atlanta Falcons, 43-3. Kansas City is 6-4 on the year, 3-7 to the over. 3-7 against the spread, 5-5 to the over, and coming off a beatdown of the Las Vegas Raiders, 41-14. Do we think Kansas City has gotten themselves right? Do we think Kansas City at home is going to be able to do to Dallas what they did to the Raiders? No, I don't think it's going to be a blowout. But I don't think they're favored by enough points here. I think because the Chiefs have struggled so much that the bettors and the books have kind of adjusted the Chiefs' power rating number down to where the Chiefs at home are less than a field goal. I think the Chiefs, my number on this game is the Chiefs -5. So laying 2.5 with the Chiefs at home on DraftKings right now at even money is definitely something that I'm bullish on here. I am very bullish on the Chiefs if you can get them at under a field goal here. I wouldn't even mind playing them at a field goal if this goes up to -3. Because like I said, my number is -5. But right now, if we can get them at 2.5 and capture the 3, the Kansas City Chiefs is the side of this game that I want to be on. So I am bullish on the Kansas City Chiefs here for Sunday. And there you go. That wraps it up for the 4:00 games. We're going to take another quick break right here and be back with the Sunday night and Monday night football games here on FTN Bets. We have 2 games left to talk about here. We're going to talk about the Sunday night game first between the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Los Angeles Chargers. Pittsburgh is 5-3-1 on the year, 3-6 against the spread, 2-6-1 to the over, and coming off it wasn't a loss, but the tie that they had against the Detroit Lions is definitely not a positive for them with backup quarterback Mason Rudolph in there. It does look like Ben Roethlisberger will be available to play this week, so I'm going to break this game down as if he is. If he's not, though, I'm going to tell you that the number should be exactly what the number is here. So let's talk about the Chargers first. The Chargers are 5-4 on the year, 5-4 against the spread, 3-6 to the over, coming off a loss to the Minnesota Vikings, 27-20. I can't really say bullish or bearish here because we don't know what's going to happen with the Steelers quarterback situation. If Mason Rudolph is the quarterback, I do think the Chargers -3.5, -4 is probably where the line should be. Honestly, it might even deserve to be a little bit higher than that, but it's probably somewhere in that vicinity, and I would say there's no value. If Ben Roethlisberger is back and able to play in this game, though, I do think the Steelers deserve to be favored. Well, I shouldn't say that. The Chargers would still be favored, but the Chargers would only be favored by 1 point, which means I do think the value would be on taking the full field goal at 3.5 or 4 with the Steelers. So with Ben Roethlisberger, my number on this game is -1, and I would be bullish on the Steelers. Without Ben Roethlisberger, my number on this game would probably be where it is at 3.5, 4, maybe even 4.5 would probably be more like it. And at that point, I would have no bet. So the best thing I can say to you guys right here, if you see that Ben Roethlisberger is going to be playing this week, I do think it makes sense to take the 3.5, take the 4 points that you could get. The 4 obviously being better than the 3.5 if they're both at even money. Go over to BetMGM and take that 4 if you hear that Ben Roethlisberger is going to be playing before this line moves, because with Roethlisberger in, I do think this is maybe too many points. And again, I'm not saying that Ben Roethlisberger is peak Ben Roethlisberger or the guy that he was when everything was going well and they were competing and trying to make it to Super Bowls every year. But he is still way better than Mason Rudolph, and he does make the Steelers team way better as well. With Ben in, that's the side of the game you want to be on. So that brings us to our last game, Monday Night Football game. Not looking like a very entertaining one here between the New York Giants and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Let's see. The Giants are 3-6 on the year, 5-4 against the spread, 3-5-1 to the over, and coming off a bye, which we did have to factor into this total a little bit. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers are 6-3 on the year, 3-6 against the spread, 5-4 to the over, and coming off a loss to Washington, 29-19. When I run a number on this game, I'm right on market here. I get Tampa Bay should be favored by 11.5 points. Would I bet on it? No. If I had to bet, I would take the Giants if you're in like an office pool. And I'll tell you why, because Tampa Bay is only 3-6 against the spread this year. 11.5 is a lot of points. Tampa Bay did not look very good last week. They have a bunch of injuries that they have to work out. Chris Godwin is nowhere near 100%. Gronk is still a couple weeks from returning. Antonio Brown is out. And this team gets very pedestrian if you start taking away that, ridiculous receiving core that Brady has had to kind of throw passes to and play with. Listen, the Tampa Bay game against Washington, it was a little bit of a fluke, taking nothing away from Washington, who played very well, did what they had to do to win that game. But how often are you going to see Tom Brady come out and throw a bunch of interceptions to start the game, kind of spot the other team 10 points or so before they even start playing? And even with that being said, they were in that game all the way up to the end and, kind of made it close. And he was playing with, again, Mike Evans and a bunch of kind of secondary pieces was really what they had out there. So, I don't think Tampa Bay, I still have Tampa Bay up there towards the top of my power rankings, as you guys can see over at FTN Bets. I think they're a very good team. I just don't want to chase and crown them champs right now until they start playing a little bit better, because right now, this is not the team that won the Super Bowl last year. This is not the team that I think has a chance to make a deep run to the Super Bowl this year in a very tough NFC that they would have to get through. I'm just not that high on Tampa Bay right now. Not that I love the Giants either. I don't think the Giants are a very good team. I just think 11.5 is too many points. I have no bet on this game, but if I had to, at this point, I'd rather be on the Giants side than the Tampa Bay Buccaneers side. And there you go. That wraps it up for our first look at the opening lines for week 11 of NFL action here on FTN Bets, sponsored by Bets TV and available on the Game Plus network. Good luck this week, everybody.